So I want to talk about impressions on the internet now. We focused quite a bit on magazine impressions. And remember what we said they were really an OTS, an opportunity to see, right? Well, it's more or less the same with the internet. The Interactive Advertising Bureau is among other things, it's what's called a trade association. It represents all the interactive media to the government, for governmental policy, for privacy policy. It does a lot of things. It set the size standards for banner ads, because when banners first started, they were all different sizes. And so advertisers didn't know how, their agencies didn't know how many different sizes of banners they'd have to make. So the IAB standardized. There's, this many pixels by this many pixels, and that's how they standardized it. They also have standardized the definition of what makes an opportunity to see for interactive. And here's what it is. When the page the ad is on is downloaded to your phone or your PC or your Mac, that's an impression. Downloading the page, any ad on that page gets an impression. Okay? That's for static ads. Static meaning it's not a video, it's not an animated ad. Now, while we're on the topic, mobile video impressions. So as you can read right here, if 50% of the video are, as you can see, are fully downloaded, opened, and viewable for 2 seconds, that's an impression. If half the video is visible for 2 seconds, it counts as an impression. Be careful. Don't assume anything. Question everything. Okay. So obviously that's not much of an impression, is it? You made a bad impression. You made a weak impression, Mr. Ad, Ms. Ad. Okay. All right, so here are impressions and sales results, both from the 1-800-Flowers campaign with Choice Hotels, managed by Hive. Now, on the left, you see the date that the ad ran in the email. And if you go over to the E column, that is the number of impressions. So that's the number of emails that were opened on that date. And if you go over to the I column, those are the dollar amounts that were sold to these people who opened the email, clicked the ad, and then went to the site and ordered. So here's the truth of it. Look at 1, 2, 3, fourth row down. 101,826 impressions. And go over. They sold $90.08 in November. Wow. And terrible, terrible results. Okay. Nowhere near those projections of clicking and order rates and conversion rate. I mean, nowhere near it. No, not 2.5%. 2.5% of 101,000 is 1,000 orders, isn't it? I mean, it's a lot, a couple thousand orders. Well, no, I mean, anyway, open email, then click and everything. Anyway, it's not $90. Okay, I think I missed a step in there. I apologize. Yeah, because 1% click, 2.5. So 1% would have clicked. So 1,000 clicks, and then 2.5% of the 1,000 would order, which would be what, 20 orders, I think. Something like that. 20 orders times $70 is $1,400. It's not $90. Anyway, terrible results. The whole campaign produced, in terms of immediate transactions, something like $6,000 or $7,000, folks. And it ran for months. It ran before Mother's Day. It ran right in through November, as you can see here. So, whoops. Why the poor results? The ad, the impression counted when the page loaded, but the ad was not visible. You had to scroll down to see the ad. All right, let me repeat that. You had to scroll down to see the ad. Nobody did that. You got the information you wanted right there without the ad. Who needs it? We went back to Hive. Hive went back to Choice and said, can you move the ad up to the top of the email so people will see it? Hive's, or rather, Choice Hotels attorneys, this is a lengthy email here. I believe it's sent by the person who was running sales at Hive, um, to everybody else at Hive, discussing, what's really going on here. So what's really going on here is something called the CAN-SPAM Act. Now, I suggest you Google that. It's very important that you know about the CAN-SPAM Act. It basically tells you the things that you can and can't do in an email, in a marketing email. And it's named spam, actually having to do with Monty Python. You can Google that too if you don't know about Monty Python, a British television show from the, I'm going to say 70s. Yeah, I think 70s. Very outrageous. Um, and there's a skit they did called Spam. You can find on YouTube the Spam skit if you want to. It's odd, but funny. Anyway, and I guess tech people like Monty Python. The sense of humor kind of meshes, I guess. Look up the CAN-SPAM Act, and one of the things you can't do is you can't stick an ad in. If the email is supposed to be a reservation confirmation, you can't just stick an ad in it. It's considered unethical. It's taking advantage of the customer. And so the lawyer said we cannot move the ad up. It's got to stay where it is. So we said, Hive basically said the Choice Hotels, not only are you not going to get 50,000 a month, this program is not viable if you can't move the ad. And that was the end of that one. Now, um, as I said before, Google, which was doing the tracking of results, could track people who went back and bought. It's not surprising. They could put a cookie if you just downloaded the email. If you clicked on it, you're going to get a cookie. But then if you don't buy, you buy later, I still can identify you from the cookie that you had. So Google can identify people who go back to buy later. And when you did that, the actual sales weren't just $6,000 or $7,000. They were a whopping like $17,000. So the guy at 800 Flowers I was dealing with, this is an email from him. His name was Craig. He's a really nice guy and a very reasonable guy. I tried to bill them for the whole 17,000, including the off email multiplier, which remembers everybody who buys after the initial click, they go back later. And he refused to do it. He said that was not in our insertion order. Uh, I had not actually made the deal with them. The head of sales, a guy named Kerry, actually did. And he sent me the insert, or I looked up the insertion order. And the insertion order is the contract with between the advertiser and the media company. And it doesn't say anything about orders that happen after the initial click. So, and ultimately, the client is right on things like this. And there's no point in trying to fight over $10,000 on a program that was embarrassingly bad. You're better off just to take what you can get and go away. I will say that this was not good for my relationship with 800 Flowers, the fact that it was such a poorly performing program. But these things happen sometimes in life. We do the best we can with what we've got. Um, right. So again, clients only want to pay for the immediate transaction. They don't want to. They don't want to pay for um, off email multipliers, and they definitely aren't going to pay for all the sales they make from the customer down the road. Now, I do want to say a word sticking with the interactive world. 50% of online traffic is bots, and that's why you have these things. And that's why you can identify the pictures with chimneys in them and buses in them and airplanes in them. And the robots get figure out how to beat one system, and then there's another one, another CAPTCHA system, and then there's reCAPTCHA, then another CAPTCHA. Uh, and just recall that Elon Musk, is looking at buying Twitter. It looks like he's maybe going to do it this time. But he tried to back out of his initial offer by saying there were too many bots. And he wanted Twitter to enumerate how many of their users are really not humans, but they're bots. And I don't think he ever got an answer from Twitter, but half of online traffic is bots. So when you talk about impressions, half of impressions are bots, more or less. All right. What does that tell you about be careful, don't assume anything, question everything, my friends? So here it says 15% of Twitter accounts are bots, which drive 2/3 of the links on the site. Okay. And there's even click fraud, um, taking advantage of people that make pay-per-click deals. And 1 in 5 paid clicks were fraudulent. This was in 2017, and it's still way up there. Like it says, as it says here, a competitor can intentionally click on ads or promotions to drive the marketing cost up for a rival. Right? Okay. So bots, click fraud. We all know about clickbait. I love a site called theonion.com, and they have so much clickbait. They do intentional clickbait, which is pretty funny. Um, Social media haven for clickbait, even in vlogging and influencer marketing. So when we pull it all together, here is where we're coming out on accountability. All right. Smear direct marketers measure projected LTV. Financial results mean accountable. Traditional media are measured primarily on CPM, but some of them will take PPO, CPA deals if they have to. Impressions are based on opportunity to see. It's not a guarantee by any means that people are really going to see your ad. Interactive media want to be measured by CPM, but are often forced to take CPC or CPA PPO deals, particularly for new advertisers that haven't had experience on their site. They may agree to try it for a while. Potential issues with all three forms of measurement. Impressions are very liberally defined. Clicks can be inflated by bots. Sales results, that's hard to fake. But what about the sales that occur later, the off email multiplier? And what about LTV? Be careful, don't assume anything, question everything. And now we have done all three of the things that have to be there for direct marketing. Do three things. Remember to do a meeting report after your meeting and to talk about who's doing what by when. Your direct mail presentation is due soon. Oh, I don't have what chapter you're reading. Whoops. Let me stop.